Hi guys, it's Jim and Steve back with Sports with Mono and Mono. It's November 18th, 2019.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our show. Hope you had a good week. What's up, Jim?
Well, I think we have a few things to talk about, but let's talk about we'll start with the NFL, and of course this is sponsored by Coriano Trucking Incorporated, longtime sponsor of the show.
Yeah, so, since we broadcasted, I guess the big story, Thursday night football, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, it was a pretty convincing victory by the Browns. However,
Marred by controversy?
good word, marred.
Okay.
So Myles Garrett obviously is at the forefront of this. He was their number one draft pick a couple years ago.
We were touting him a few weeks ago as a beast.
Yeah, he's a beast,
No question.
Stanley, honeymooners type of thing. But Myles Garrett, unfortunately, lost his cool, and also, Mason Rudolph was not exactly an angel in all this. So what are your thoughts on this?
I'm so glad that you brought that up because something precipitated this guy losing his marbles, right? And I think if you watch closely, something may have been said, which we may never hear, but something happened that caused this thing to happen. Listen, not defending Myles Garrett one bit. It was horrific, violent, unbelievable, right? A YouTube video for the ages.
Well, Myles Garrett's lucky that when he hit Rudolph in the head with the helmet, I've seen it multiple times. But it looked like where, in the back of the helmet where you kind of have a little foam pad.
The soft spot.
Soft spot. But I'm telling you, if the helmet was flipped and it was the crown of the helmet or the top of the helmet that landed with the force that he swung.
Oh, and imagine if it hit him in the nose, like
Yankee
right in the face.
Yankee beam for Mason Rudolph. And in fact, all kidding aside, that could have been a death blow, to be honest with you.
If he hit him in the face with that, it could have been a Kermit Washington getting tagged by Rudy Tomjanovich,
There's
right?
no doubt. He would have been the Elephant Man.
Which may have been one of the most shocking.
That's still the all-time punch in all-time sports.
Oh my God! It was
The Kermit Washington on Rudy Tomjanovich.
It's got to be 35 years ago, right?
But the point is, Myles Garrett has
Horrible.
been suspended, and rightfully so. He should miss the rest of the season. But I don't think Myles Garrett, from what I know of him, is kind of like a thug.
Agreed.
But obviously the label now will always be attached to him. So I was kind of surprised that it was Myles Garrett. But also on the flip side, we both played football, and the emotion that goes into it.
You can lose your cool.
You can lose your cool, but this was really egregious.
I agree.
And Myles Garrett, unfortunately, will be suspended.
And he'll pay the price for it.
And I would imagine, my guess is maybe another 8 games next year. I mean, he's really going to get a stiff penalty.
And the fact that Pouncey gets 3 games for jumping in, I mean, you got to get...
You defend your teammate, there's no question. But they all appeal it, and we'll see if Pouncey, gets a game.
I could say maybe 1 game,
but back to
3 is a
Mason
little
Rudolph,
stiff.
when he got sacked, I mean, he was doing like, a little kicking into
Something
Myles.
precipitated
but he was kicking
this.
Myles Garrett too, like a
Yep.
little bitch, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And that really pissed him off. So we just wanted to bring that up.
Right.
Obviously, it happened last week, but we wanted to lead with that. And then before we get to the games, yesterday and tonight, as we're broadcasting, Kansas City's playing the Chargers 7-3 right now. The Chiefs. But the other circus was this Colin Kaepernick is back in the news with this most ridiculous
Publicity stunt?
tryout, call it what you want.
Publicity
What are your
stunt.
thoughts on this one?
Well, listen, we knew something like this was going to be coming, right? I mean, he's a force in the NFL that just won't go away. It's an albatross for the owners. It's albatross for the players. 3 years this guy hasn't played.
That's right.
And I said that, his last, is this guy a number 1 starting quarterback? Got to have this guy? He's getting screwed and because he took a knee? Absolutely not. I'm going on his record and so forth. But, he had this audition set up and he decides, his people to move it to another venue, which right, virtually eliminated, three-quarters of the NFL teams that were there to see him. It was all scheduled, professional crews there. And of course the guy can throw the ball 65 yards. But is it something you would want your team to say, we got to have this guy?
No, absolutely not. So, to your point, Colin Kaepernick hasn't played since 2016. And I can't knock the guy for the original intent of
It has nothing to do with that.
having a voice as an NFL player.
We both agree.
And doing some quote-unquote activism. But we're talking now well over 3 years here.
Right.
I'm talking about Colin Kaepernick, the football player. So this circus that transpired over the weekend, if it was all about coming back and getting a job back in the NFL, they negotiated with the NFL. I think there were, I wanted to say 25 teams, something along those lines, were representing themselves. Then the circus entails. He wears a Kunta Kinte t-shirt, obviously. So he keeps this, he just keeps doing this stance. And it's not about being a football player. Nobody in their right mind is going to pay him $20 million for all the baggage.
Is that what he's actually expecting to
you
get?
would think somebody of his quote-unquote
caliber
status. And I'm not talking starting quarterback. I'm talking a backup quarterback.
Okay, well, backups make $1 million.
Right. No, well,
One.
No, they make a lot more
800.
than that now.
Okay, well,
But the point is, no team is going to sign him. I'm going on record right now because if you and I, like we always refer to, if we own the team or we're the general manager,
would we
trust
do
me, I'm one of
this?
the 8 teams that didn't show up for this tryout.
And a lot of people say, hey, look, he took the 49ers to the Super Bowl and he did that. And I go, okay, so did Mark Rippon. So did Trent Dilfer. Everybody has their day in the sun. But since then, he's done nothing, and it could have been his...
We talked about it. I mean, his
I don't
last
know.
year playing, they were 1-10, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, granted, was it all his fault? No, but the point is, I don't think, at the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick is not worth...
and we're only
circus-
talking about
the
this
circus
as
that's
a player. If we were the owners, would we sign this?
No.
And we would.
Absolutely. So we had to bring that up. So
Yeah.
let's get to on-the-field stuff. So the New York Jets, for our local fans, riding a 2-game win streak. I was wrong yesterday, pre-Jet Redskin game.
So was
actually
I.
Took the Washington Redskins to actually show up despite Dwayne Haskins starting.
And I'm appalled at myself that I took the Redskins. They are maybe the worst team. Them and the Bengals are obviously the worst two
Right,
teams
but
in the
on
league.
on the flip side, it's the New York Jets. So I just couldn't think they were coming down to Washington is a good home venue. But you know what I noticed too, real quick before the early first quarter, a lot of empty seats in Washington.
Unbelievable. That was the
Which
hottest
you've
ticket
never-
on the planet
that is
for
correct.
years.
Right.
And that's the first thing I said. I go, they're not coming to the game.
They are not coming to the game.
Wow.
Yeah, so things are tough in Redskin land, there's no doubt. I'm sure they'll look for a new coach. Bill Callahan just riding out the interim tag, and they'll have to make a splash with the coach.
And I've been neglecting contacting my Redskins fan, Jeff Bolliger, who lives up in Connecticut, fan of the show,
Yeah.
because I got nothing to stand on. The Giants are horrible and so forth. So, but boy, you're right. Looking good. The Jones over Haskins pick starting to look better and better to me.
Yes, it is.
And it's early, and I get it.
Yeah, so I'll give the Jets credit. They played a decent game yesterday in all facets of the game. Jamal Adams again had a
Monster game.
impactful game.
He had a monster game.
He did.
Again.
Darnold looked okay.
But I just want to touch on one thing, because about 48 hours ago, people were crucifying. This is the worst thing. Now they're all talking, yeah, maybe Darnold was the guy, the right
it's
pick.
always a
And maybe
weekly
the
thing.
Jets can squeak into the playoffs. It was unbelievable, the feedback that I was getting today. You guys were ready to throw Molotov cocktails on the field, and now you're going, huh?
Yeah.
But they play the Redskins next week. Let's see what happens, right?
So
I'm sorry, they play the Raiders next week.
Right. So the Jets on a 2-game win streak.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, that's
Right.
all I'm going to say.
Looking good.
Right.
Gase's job is safe.
Yes, right.
Let's just move on.
Let's move on.
Right.
So congratulations to our Jet fans.
And how about the Baltimore Ravens? They just keep rolling, and this quarterback is dynamic and having an MVP type season. Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
What can you say?
I think Lamar Jackson is probably the front runner right now to win
Easily.
the MVP. Russell Wilson is still right there. But, just scanning the standings right now, there's a lot of teams that have really good records. Seattle, 8-2. Saints, 8-2. Niners, 9-1. Pats, 9-1. Pack, 8-2.
Right.
Ravens, 8-2.
Right.
Vikings, 8-3.
Right.
And then you have, the Cowboys and the Rams are at 6-4. Eagles are 5-5, I believe.
You know what? I actually took the Eagles yesterday. I don't bet against Brady and Belichick per se, but I love the 4.5 points. And if Alshon Jeffrey or somebody, that guy in the end zone could have caught that pass,
Well,
we would have won the game.
I took the Pats.
Shame on me. I'll acquiesce.
The Pats, speaking of the Pats, I mean, they are struggling offensively. But the point with this team always is people start looking for holes in them, and they've been doing this for
I'll keep looking.
six previous Super Bowls.
Because they're
And at
going to
the
the
end of the
AFC
day-
Championship game, and they're going to play the Ravens along the way.
Yeah, and where will they play them? At home.
Right.
Right? So, again, back Lamar Jackson really
Awesome.
looks good.
Awesome.
Kirk Cousins, I'll throw a shout out to him. Listen, the Vikings were struggling against the Broncos early, but they came back.
Yep.
And Kirk Cousins has been playing efficiently for the Vikings. I think he's got like 18 touchdowns and 1 interception.
No, he's playing. He's playing and earning the money that they paid him. They hung him, in effigy last year.
Yeah.
I know, but
And
I
then-
like the kid. He's a nice
And then
kid.
the Rams bounced back. They're 6-4. Now, of course, they were in with the 49ers in Seattle. We talked about that. They're 9-1. The Niners.
And I'm going to
Seattle's
tell you,
8-2.
Goff is going to lead those guys into at least a wild card. They're not going to win the division. We know that.
Well,
but-
they're not even going to sniff the division now.
Right.
So Goff, but more importantly, it was Todd Gurley who finally broke out. He had 130 yards yesterday. We'll see if he's healthy. I don't discount the Rams. I just think the Rams have played, obviously not good football their first half of the season, but they're very talented. Watch out for them. I just wanted to say.
And it looks like Aaron Donald's starting to heat up. That's good
Yeah.
news for them.
So, they're in contention for a wild card, but they got to win, and win they must. And then the Cowboys rebounded last week.
Boy, did they need a
Or
rebound.
Yesterday, excuse me.
They needed that.
Yeah, they did. Their schedule's going to get tough.
Yeah.
And so they bounced back, but Elliott was shut down, but it's Dak Prescott
It's his
who
show.
is
It's
playing
his show.
good football, and a lot of people still. I'm saying that I don't think Dak is getting the love that I think he deserves.
But he's going to get the money.
He is a top 10 quarterback right
He's
now.
going to get the money. They could live without Ezekiel Elliott getting 150 yards a game because Dak Prescott is there and he's using all of his tools. And
Amari Cooper, man. It's been a really good trade for the Cowboys.
I
They're
know.
the number one. Hey, Amari Cooper.
I thought the price was so steep. All
Nope.
right. I know the guy's still got a lot of talent and so forth. I just thought it was steep at the time. But look, Prescott,
I disagree.
he sees him and says, this is a guy I could count on, so he does it.
Yeah. So outside of that, again, we're getting towards the end of the NFL season. There's only maybe 4 games left or so, and
No, it's like 6 games.
Yeah.
You know,
so that's about it on the NFL front. If you have any questions, comments about what happened on Sunday, if you got any opinion on Myles Garrett or Colin Kaepernick,
or our views on the
Anything.
situation, please.
send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com. and then we'll move on to college football.
All right, but let's. The college football segment is sponsored by Lynch Motors of Manchester, Connecticut, longtime loyal sponsor of the show.
So, what's your lead story? What takeaway from the college weekend?
Well, I think it's kind of obvious to say let's talk about a quarterback from Alabama, Tua, who was, possibly the number one, number two pick in the draft. Now that gets thrown into question.
No, it's
And the question
more
was,
than a
why
question.
was he still in there? And, I had a conversation with somebody today because I think the way they put this emphasis on, quality wins, meaning, run the table, score 70 points, that's why he claims, Nick Saban says Tua wanted to play, he was healthy and so forth, but you had to think he was still in there after 35-7 lead or whatever,
Yeah, but
and it cost him.
hey,
But
you can get hurt on any play.
Exactly, that's exactly right, and this could be a devastating injury for
Well, it's
him.
unfortunate for Tua. Obviously,
There goes the Heisman.
well, the Heisman's out. There's no question on that. But he has a serious injury, the hip. It's no joke.
Ugh.
We talked about his two ankles. He's had surgery on both ankles already. I mean, I guess the question is, how brittle is this guy? So he just went under surgery today, and
He's
Yeah.
definitely done for the year, right?
well, there's no question. He's
Okay.
absolutely done for the year. Who knows if he's even done with Alabama now? Who says? I think he's got some eligibility that
he doesn't need to go anywhere.
he
If he
doesn't
gets
have to go
healthy, he
anywhere.
could stay there and
Absolutely.
take the job anytime.
But what does that mean for Alabama? So their backup quarterback, kid named Mac Jones, who's got some time just because to his ankle injury a few weeks ago.
Gave him some reps.
So Alabama, I've
Yeah.
gone on record in the last show, I think it was. I don't think they make the top four this year, but they're still in the hunt. So they have a patsy, Western Carolina, this Saturday. Mac Jones gets some snaps, and then they have the Iron Bowl next week.
And how about that running back? Was it Niles Harris?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a stud.
So my point about Alabama is that even losing Tua, if they beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl,
Other
right,
things have to happen before
other
they
things
come
will
back.
have to happen. But Alabama still has a
Yeah.
puncher's chance. So then that question brings up, what if Alabama beats Auburn and knocks Oregon out of contention for the top four spot? Because Oregon has really played flawlessly. Their opener, they lost to Auburn.
Yeah.
So what does this committee do? Do they screw Oregon because of the loss to Auburn, then Alabama beats Auburn?
All right, well, there's 1,000 ways we could,
All
tie our
speculation at
shoes
this
kind of
point,
thing.
but these are scenarios that we have
Exactly.
to prepare for.
Yeah.
So,
But Ohio State continues to roll. They're going to make the four.
so Ohio State comes to Rutgers on Saturday, and they were very nice to our Scarlet Knights.
They
went up-
didn't beat them by
That
89
is correct,
points.
because they went up 14-0 in about 5 minutes. You could see such vast difference in athletic ability, talent, the whole thing. But
And maybe, listen,
Justin Fields, 4 touchdowns, in a blink of an eye, but basically sat the whole second half.
right, but he's gonna finish in the top 3 in the Heisman
No, Justin
Trophy.
Fields actually is
But I wanted to ask you this.
pretty
Steve,
good.
because I thought about it. They could have easily walked in there and laid 100 on Rutgers.
That is correct, but they
Is it a
definitely-
Ryan Day saying, that's not going to be my legacy? And, Urban Meyer would have scored 70
Yeah,
points. right?
no, I was thinking the same thing, but I think Ryan Day took the foot off the gas.
But I think
Put
that's
in
cool,
his second string,
actually.
third string, literally.
And they didn't need to beat them by
Early
80
third
points to back into the...
They
and-
won 59, I think 21.
Right, but they didn't need to score 90 points
could've.
to make the, the
They could have, and
tournament.
and
kind
if
of thing, whatever.
Ohio State needed that to win by such a ridiculous margin, they would have.
Exactly.
But I think Ohio State's sitting pretty.
And they're
to be in
going
the top
anyway.
4.
And that shows class on Ryan Day.
So that
actually.
segues to what Ohio State's got this weekend. Penn State comes in Ohio State to the Horseshoe. I'm going on record right now. Ohio State's going to, I think, really beat up Penn State. And Penn State will still have 2 losses they'll play on the New Year's Day bowl.
They're
at
going to
1
beat them,
o'clock.
but they're not going to beat them up.
I
It's
think
not
they
going to
will.
be.
I think Ohio State.
What,
is
by
really
more than
good.
20 or something?
I think the spread is definitely going to be over 10 points.
No, I know the spread, but I'm talking.
I can
I
see
think
Ohio
Penn State's
State.
going to keep it within 8 to 10 or something like
I
that.
can see Ohio State winning by 20.
Okay.
No doubt. And then speaking of the Big Ten, I guess the other big news was one of the undefeateds went down. So Minnesota, who's been a good story all year.
We might have talked about them
We
last
have
week.
the
right?
PJ Flexters.
And we were rooting for them, but we knew
Sure.
it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
they have to finish up the year, and they had to go to Iowa. And Iowa is a decent Big Ten team this year. They've actually had a real good year.
Exactly.
So credit Iowa for knocking off Minnesota. Now you can discount Minnesota
In the four.
in the discussion.
Yep.
And then the other big game was Oklahoma and Baylor Saturday night.
I
So
believe Oklahoma was down like 28-3, and they rallied and came back.
It
And
was the
won the
largest
game.
comeback in Oklahoma, which is really stark to even think that that's the largest comeback, because Oklahoma obviously is one of the storied franchises in all of college sports.
Right, which means they were never down by 25 points
Right.
at any point in time.
So my
right?
point is
Right.
that's a credit to Oklahoma football. At 28-3 is, it's a big deficit, but it's nothing insurmountable, and obviously they proved that. So congratulations, Oklahoma, and they'll still be in discussion, but I still think Oklahoma is not going to be in the top four.
Okay.
So that's the college football wrap.
So let's move on to some high school football. 'Cause,
Okay.
as we talked about, and one of our loyal listeners, Mike Garvey, was at the Naples game. We brought it up last week. It's in Florida football,
We've been following Naples, so
and they took it on the chin this week.
oh,
So
you're
they're
telling me
out.
they took it on the chin. How bad on the chin?
Buster Douglas to Tyson in
Oh, really?
Japan or wherever it was. Yeah.
Well, who'd they lose to? Sarasota or Bonita Springs or
Mike told me, I can't remember. It was something.
Anna Marie Island?
Right. But on the positive side, there's a big game coming up, and the result of St. Joe's beating Paramus Catholic in the non-public Group 4
Right.
division.
But the marquee game over the weekend was definitely the Crusaders of Bergen Catholic traveling to Ramsey, New Jersey. to
Friday
take
night
on
football.
The Don Bosco Ironmen.
And they took it to him. I actually thought Bergen was going to give him a game, and Bosco took it to him.
Bosco took it to him 24-6 convincingly. And now that sets up for this Saturday.
Another
in Montvale.
marquee matchup, game of the year in New Jersey for this week
And I'm
anyway.
definitely attending this game. So
Don Bosco versus St. Joe's.
That's right. I'm going to my alma mater. I haven't been to a game all year due to my schedule, so I'm looking forward to this. The rematch from the regular season only a few weeks ago.
And it looks
Bosco-
like we're destined to, hopefully, like I said, this is a tough game to figure out. Don Bosco's on a roll. St. Joe's is home. It should be a great game. It's going to be
a great game.
5,000 people minimum will be at the game. So that's how intense high school football is in northern New Jersey.
That's right. So we're looking forward to that. That's this Saturday.
Yep.
Joe's versus Bosco. Go St. Joe's. Go
And your
St.
your
Joe's.
former student, Charles DePrima, and his Ramapo Raiders
That
keep
is
rolling
correct.
on.
So for the non-public, Ramapo beat, I want to say it's called Newark West Side.
No, it was West Side.
Yeah, out of Newark.
I know, but I saw it the other day. I go, there was no Newark in the name when they played.
All right, so it's West Side,
Right.
and they beat them like 49-40, I want to say.
Yeah, it was a good game.
And Pascack Valley wins their game. And
So that's who they're destined to
so
play?
Ramapo and Pascack Valley played a few weeks ago, and Ramapo pulled away in the second half. But Pascack Valley's got a really good running back, so that state final for them is slated probably for Saturday too.
Yeah.
And there's one team I wanted to bring up we haven't mentioned yet, Wayne Valley. So Wayne Valley, right? Now we obviously, well, not obviously to our audience, but we have an affiliation of Wayne Hills High School because of our nephews and
All three of them were superstars.
all
at
three
the school.
were exactly state champions and all that. But I found that great that Wayne Valley beat the number one team in their bracket was Phillipsburg, New Jersey, which
Yeah.
is kind of on the
Always been a
on the
powerhouse.
Pennsylvania border, and
Literally on the
right.
border.
For our all-time fans, Ned Bolkar was a linebacker from Notre Dame in the '80s.
Who was the best friend of a
Captain
college?
of Notre Dame.
One of my college buddies grew up with Ned
Yeah.
Bolkar,
And played at Phillipsburg, and Phillipsburg is always back in the
Oh.
day was perennial, like a number one team in the state.
it was like the SEC back then.
Yeah.
It really was.
So I wanted to bring up the fact that Wayne Valley,
Good call on that.
congratulations, beating Phillipsburg.
And they won this week, yes, and they won,
Yep.
and they're moving on.
They are moving on.
Cool.
So that wraps up our football segment,
Yep.
and we'll update you on the next show as the results of the
Things are heating
Good-
up in the
good high school
NFL,
football.
college football, high school football, and we'll keep you posted on all of it.
yeah, we love it.
We
So,
do. All right, so let's move on, Steve. With some Major League Baseball, some news.
Yeah, so just came out. So one Derek Jeter is now on the Hall of Fame ballot and is
Huh.
on the clock.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, so that's what really I wanted to throw that at you. And Hall of Fame worthy when you think of Derek Jeter?
Yeah, I'm gonna say he gets in
Because our criteria, of course,
it's very stringent.
when we think of Hall of Fame, is he a Hall of Famer? And then you,
And
you have
it's
to
funny,
think.
I had this conversation today with somebody about a couple of names you're going to bring up in a second. Because, yes, we are very strict when it comes to getting into this
Right.
the Hall of Fame. It's what it is.
That's
like I
right.
said, you know our opinions on the NFL Hall of Fame. So
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Give me some names that will give a thumbs up or thumbs down.
So obviously Derek Jeter, I think, would be the most prominent name, and just for the audience, just to tell you for the 800 millionth time, 14-time All-Star, 5-time World Series champ, career average of 310,
Gets in
3,465 hits,
unanimously.
20 seasons, 1996 AL Rookie of the Year.
Move
and
on.
They got Gold Gloves, etc., etc.
Move on.
So here are some interesting names, but I got to tell you, when I've been perusing them, nothing stands out.
Go ahead, drop them
here's
on
a
me.
note. So these are some of the guys that are now eligible for the Hall of Fame. Cliff Lee,
No.
no, but he was a good pitcher. Had his
Okay.
three, 4 really good years, but
Okay.
no, not even close. Josh Beckett,
Not enough good years.
no.
And a horrible, persona on the field. It was a
Listen,
hothead.
right. So I mean, obviously, when I think of Josh Beckett, I think of him as a Florida Marlin.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Got a
The
ring.
Yankee-
Pitched huge.
The Yankee
Okay.
game, the World Series, but
Hall
no,
of Fame worthy?
not enough. Not even close.
Next.
Jason Giambi,
No.
of course. Paul Konerko.
He's got some good numbers. I don't know what. I'm going to say if Craig Biggio's in, then Konerko gets
Well, I'll research Paul Konerko a little more, but
in. I bet he's got more than 400 home runs.
I'm not discounting him. Rafael Furcal.
Who?
Exactly.
Next.
Bobby Abreu.
No.
No,
it didn't jump
not
off the
even
page.
close.
No, come on.
Alfonso Soriano.
No.
Nope. Right. So here is some. So I kind of segmented it towards, just. And I'm not going to give you every.
The
name.
nose first. I saw that. It was a nice grouping you did.
Well,
good
in fact,
good
you
homework job.
You seeing a theme here?
Yeah, I'm
a
sitting-
pattern.
We're partners.
So these are the guys that I think are worthy of more consideration.
Go ahead.
Gary Sheffield. You talk about numbers. He's
Got
gotta be
400
up there.
home runs,
he's
I'm
probably
sure.
got more than that. We're not saying yes or no right now. These
Exactly.
guys-
You know what? We'll come back to that.
Right. Todd Helton.
Dude, he was
Beast.
probably two batting titles.
Oh, at
you know.
least.
Played in Colorado though.
That
Do we?
aside, Scott Rowland.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Solid third baseman,
Think so?
good hitter, and
That's
so
right.
forth. But career-wise, no. Mike
Andy
Schmidt,
Pettit.
that came up today, and I said, not being just simply biased here, he was a big game pitcher, but he did have this little thing with the steroids, but it was medical reasons. What is your opinion on it? I'm going to say yes, and I said to somebody, yes. If Mike Mussina got in, Andy Pettit gets in,
Well, when I think of Andy Pettit, I think of playoff success, obviously.
which is
I'm gonna reserve the right to look at his
overall stats.
overall stats. I'm not discounting him, but I would say my initial would be no, that he would fall a little bit short.
But if Mussina gets in, you don't think Andy Pettit gets in?
I'm not. Again, I'm just going on my
All right.
intuition right
All right.
now, subject to research.
I wouldn't be blown away if he gets in. I wouldn't.
I
be
got two
disappointed.
more names.
Go ahead. I know one of them. I know one of them.
Billy Wagner.
Absolutely not.
He was a pretty good reliever.
Yeah.
But when you think of relievers in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to say no. Fall short, could throw with a hard fastball.
And I think I know the last guy.
Who you got?
Does it have something to do with blood or anything like that? Socks or anything like that? Is it Kurt Schilling?
Well, I'm going to also get to that, but let me give you one more. Omar Vizquel.
Great fielder, no bat, no sale.
No sale. All right, so now I wanted to, and this is the final category. It's basically the guys that have been on the ballot, and you know I'm going to talk about your steroid boys, or a couple of them
Go
at
ahead.
least. But I got to think Kurt Schilling is going to get into the Hall of Fame. He got 60.9% last year,
Yeah.
and that's up from the previous year of 59.1.
Oh, he's getting in.
So
There's
he's
no
trending
question.
whether he gets in this year.
But when I threw
or
that
another
name
year
out
or
to
two.
you, did you say yes automatically, or
I
let
think-
me do some
Nah,
homework here?
I've been thinking about him for a couple of years. I don't like him personally, but again, we have to be objective.
And you don't think that was Halloween blood in his
Oh,
sock that he
that
popped
was-
a little?
that was totally, Halloween blood.
Exactly. Thank
But,
you.
but he's going to make the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is. He's getting in.
So
He's
next
getting-
one's up, Roger Clemens. Now Roger Clemens obviously, wasn't getting any votes early once his candidacy.
Oh, we know why. And
But
look-
he's
look-
at 59.5%.
Okay,
on
so
his
that means
last-
that as the old dinosaurs who vote die off, the young
And
guys.
remember, you need at least 70%.
Yeah.
So
But we're talking about the same guys, right? Over and over again.
my point is that Clemens eventually is going to get in, and then to me, who's the biggest?
So they're gonna bypass this whole steroids thing because
I don't think he's getting in.
you and
this
I
year.
watched him pitch at Texas when he was in college. Lean, mean, awesome, great pitcher. But then he's 36 and he's mowing people down.
Yeah, he was
That's
mowing
not
them down
tainted?
to 40.
That's not tainted. He could have got in with what he did for his first 10 years.
Well, that's another discussion.
All right.
What are they going to do with the steroid boys? And
All
of
right,
course,
so
the
I'm
vote-
sure Sosa's on the list, and
Well,
McGuire's on the
no,
list.
I don't even bring up Sosa because Sosa is such a joke.
Okay,
It's not
but-
even worth.
But they're on the ballot.
How about Barry Bonds, 59.1%?
If you're gonna keep Clemens out, you got to keep him out.
Well, my point is they're going to get in.
But Bonds
in
would
the
have got
next-
in regardless of
And
steroids.
Clemens would have too.
Exactly. But McGuire wouldn't have. Sosa wouldn't have.
No, I agree.
Right. So
So the point being is they're still on the ballot, and I would say based at 59, I would say within 3 years, Clemens, Bonds will be in the Hall of Fame.
and then Rafael Palmeiro gets in.
No, I
if
think
they're
Pal-
letting these guys in who are known, or listen,
We shall
alleged.
see.
Palmeiro's got to get in, right? His numbers were spectacular, right?
Right.
Hall of Fame worthy.
But he's completely tainted too. So
Okay, but
I get it.
if you let other completely tainted guys
I agree.
in,
If
he
one
gets
gets in, they all get in.
in. All right, cool.
So last name I'll throw out there, Larry Walker. He's on the ballot for his 10th and
Final
time
year, yeah, he's not kidding.
before he can become eligible, like what
By
we
the
talked
Veterans
about,
Committee.
what we talked about on the previous
Right.
Hall of Fame discussion. So
when you
I
first
think of
said it,
Larry
I'd say
Walker,
yay, no.
I gotta
No.
say no.
Good ball player,
Really
good
good ball.
numbers, you know.
Really good. And then I guess for baseball, the Cy Youngs were announced, and I would say a couple surprises, to be honest. Not saying
Shockers, not shockers.
I know, but not that they're not deserving, but there were some candidates that are pretty good. So let's start with the Cy Young. I would think the most would be the AL, and Justin Verlander gets it over his teammate Garrett Cole.
Which Steve and I have no problem with at all, but if we look at the numbers, the guy strikes out 300 and wins 20 games. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have had a problem either way.
Yeah, I listen. Verlander is as deserving.
Yep.
But I gotta say, I would probably have gone with Garrett Cole.
Me
on
too.
that. But
Me too.
That's.
But I don't
my
have a
opinion.
problem with either one of them. But I do have more of a problem in the National League. Right?
So I mean,
and that
under the radar, Jacob DeGrom, back-to-back Cy Youngs too, which is pretty. It's a pretty good.
with 11
company.
wins, it's got to be the lowest.
He's in exclusive territory. I think there's
Big
like
time.
seven National League pitchers that have won back.
And he's awesome, and I have no problem with it at all.
But
But I would have thought Scherzer was going to get it. I
But
mean,
Jacob DeGrom got off to a slow start, quote unquote.
yes, he did.
But his ERA.
And of course, they never scored any runs for him, so he would have won 15 games if they had an offense.
But I don't
right?
think it matters because he was recognized, even with the lack of wins because of the.
And I haven't, like I told you, I have no problem with it. But I think Scherzer is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and
So,
I wouldn't have had a problem with him winning it either.
Right. So congratulations, Jacob DeGrom. I mean, I think that's
Big time. He's a
awesome.
good kid too.
Back-to-back Cy Youngs. It's a very nice accomplishment.
But the one thing I wanted to bring up was about we talked about a little bit the polar bear, but I wanted to talk about the guy who didn't vote for him, like trying to make a name for himself and stuff. And I listened to a couple of our competitors who I don't usually do, but I wanted to see if they were gonna hang this guy and saying, "What are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
Right? Looking for your name. This guy was the unanimous Rookie of the Year, right?
No question.
Silly, but I actually must give credit to some of our people in the business that said, we're not going to give you his name because that's what the guy was looking for.
Yeah.
Alonzo Polar Bear, go for it. It was awesome. Awesome.
Right. So that, pretty much, again, we'll monitor the Hot Stove League in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
MVP's
MVP's coming up probably next week. We'll
Sure.
talk about, right?
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
and I told you, I think Anthony Rendon. What a year! What a year!
He's very worthy of
year.
of winning it, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I don't think them winning the World Series did him any harm.
No, I don't think so. So, that's it. So Major League Baseball, and sponsored by DeFilippi's Bakery, one of our loyal sponsors. We thank Carmela, the best baked goods in the Catskills, especially now that the Thanksgiving is, almost...
Less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks. So if you're in the Catskills, driving, checking foliage, whatever, go stop by, get the best baked goods at DeFilippi's Bakery. Thank you, Carmela.
And they have a
for sponsoring
keto
our
menu
show.
too.
And they have a keto menu now. Absolutely.
Yeah, Carmela's Keto Kitchen.
That's
right?
correct. No
Okay.
doubt.
Cool.
And then, so basketball, again, we will touch on that. The NBA, again, not much. We talked about Fizdale and the Knicks, but it looks like I think that is going to blow over. We'll see.
Totally gonna blow over because now they're 3-9.
They just beat the Cleveland Cavaliers because when we went to production just now, they were up by 20, and I don't even think the Knicks could blow a 20 yet.
No, they've blown about 5 games this year where they were up by 20. So,
But so we'll cover the NBA, college basketball. I think the big news was, of course, the number one team
Shocker.
in the nation, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Losing to the Evansville team.
That's
Yeah,
correct. And
right.
Evansville is right in the, Evansville, Indiana.
That's a 1 seed
Midwest
versus
thing?
16 seed. Just
Oh,
happens every now and then.
This is Hoosier stuff. Ollie.
Kentucky's still going to the Final Four.
Oh,
Don't
of
don't
course.
panic.
Yeah, but this is, I would say this is kind of reminiscent of Virginia and Ralph Sampson losing to Chaminade
In Hawaii,
in Hawaii,
I think it was. Yeah.
right? So, obviously, that is a shocking thing that Kentucky number one would lose to a team like that.
It
But to your
happens.
point,
No big deal.
I don't think Evansville's going to make the big dance,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, that being said, you got any shout outs as we end the show?
I do. Actually, I ran into an old teammate of mine, Jack Howe, who
Jack Howe. I know Jack Howe.
his little brother was a teammate of yours as
Not
well.
only was he a teammate, he was my tight end.
He sure was. And we
saw-
talked about it over the weekend. But Jack, been busy lately, so I had to reignite him on our show, and
Oh.
he's been listening and gave us some good feedback. But
Okay.
welcome back, Jack.
Thanks. Thank you, Jack, for
Yep.
listening to the show. We appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing their St. Joe's alum guys this
Yep.
Saturday. Once again, Joe's playing Bosco.
Big game.
Big
game.
Big game. Huge, Jerry.
It's huge, Jerry.
Totally.
All right, so listen, this has been a great show, Steve. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on. Football is intense. Baseball stuff we'll talk about, and the NBA we'll get to. I don't know what to say, but
That's it. All right. So we will catch you on the next show. And once again, any questions, comments?
and please do.
Sports with mono and mono at gmail.com.
And feel free, because some of our fans have been commenting on YouTube
Well,
and
yeah,
SoundCloud
yeah.
as well. It's
Yeah,
available.
again, I'll throw a shout out to the new listeners, Tony. Tony, we appreciate your feedback.
Sure do.
Thank you for listening, and please share with your friends. And Spider-Man, we always appreciate that too.
Oh, I'm looking forward to his comment tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's been a
No
Tuesday
doubt.
morning staple for us.
Absolutely. And then one more is a new listener, a guy, Cliff Olander. Cliff always hits, he likes our show on YouTube. So we appreciate the following.
Cool.
Hit thumbs up on YouTube. Find us on SoundCloud. And we'll talk to you next week, okay?
All right, Cliff, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Can't wait to talk to you next week, and have a good week. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.